just a quick little one here. That's what she said. So just got this 12 RC suitcase. I got this one used and looked like the guy like left it on the back of his flatbed or something for a couple years maybe, and it's like, you know, you can see some corrosion and shit going on here. It looks like it spent time outside, and like the plastic is all really faded and shit, but pulled it apart here because for one, I want to replace the power cable coming in. You see, this is just how it's set up standard. It's just got like, I don't know, 8 inches, whatever. But what I had the local welder repair guy do was extend the 14 pin to roughly 7 feet. Because that way I can put the suitcase in the back of my service truck and like have it in the bed and then plug it up onto the welder without having to use any extension cords. And so I figured I'd just poke around in here and clean it up. You can see it's unfortunately really freaking dirty. There's just a bunch of crap everywhere in here, which is fine because I got the suitcase for extremely cheap. Basically just got it for a song. And so I have, if I have to do a little clean on it, that's fine. But anyways, wanted to post this here because, you know, of course, learning more about this, I thought that these had potted circuit boards in them. You know, like encased in epoxy and whatnot. And the Trailblazer does, at least the ones that I've seen so far. But these are all completely open. You know, there's no, they're not encapsulated in anything, which I suppose is cool, because then if one component fails, makes it much, much easier just to replace one capacitor, one resistor, whatever. But yeah, I did not know that. And I think it's really kind of amazing because, you know, these things obviously just get thrashed on in the field. You know, people tossing them out of trucks and shit. And this one here, like I've already cleaned up the handle a fair bit, but this was like white. It had been sitting out in the sun for so damn long. So it's really kind of incredible that these things do last and are so reliable. This board here was just replaced because it has the potentiometers on the front for the wire speed and the voltage. And when I got it from the guy, it was advertised as being a perfectly good and working unit, and come to find out it wasn't. So I was very thankful that the guy at his cost replaced that board there. But anyways, so I pulled the gearbox apart here, and presumably is made in the US, I would hope. But pulled the gearbox apart because, like I said, it was all dirty and nasty on the outside. Like the drive mechanism here was just caked in shit. Like I am really impressed looking at this thing at how well it seems to be made. And you can see, like, you know, pretty big chunky gears and everything. I basically don't see any appreciable wear on this. Like, okay, you can see right here it's polished up the shaft a little bit, but the gears seem perfectly fine. I don't see really any noticeable wear, like on the pinion. Of course, covered it in grease already. But I don't know how much wire was put through this thing. I presume quite a bit, but yeah, you know, it's got freaking little caged bearings on both sides. The other one's stuffed in there. And then on this main shaft here, there's a, well, yeah, I guess you can see there's a little needle bearing right here, and then of course cover that in grease, but there's another little needle bearing in there. But Yeah, overall, really surprised with how well this is all put together. You can see that on the RC version here that there is no contactor. So, anytime that there's voltage at your input lug here, you have voltage coming up into your drive mechanism and therefore out to the gun. The Miller Arc Reach and the VS versions have a contactor inside of here. Granted, I've never taken one apart, but I'd imagine it sits right here. And what that allows you to do is hook it up to a like hell, if you wanted to, like a SA200 or something like that doesn't have any contacts of its own, and then that way when you pull and release the trigger on the gun, it will give and cut power to the contact tip on the gun so that you can set the gun down without it arcing out all over the place. This one doesn't have that because this one here, being the RC version, it has to run off a welder that has a 14 pin on it. Maybe you can get a adapter to the Lincoln 6 pin, I don't know, but in the case of my Trailblazer, when I pull the trigger on the gun, the suitcase tells the welder to apply voltage to the weld outputs, and when you let go, the Trailblazer cuts power. So this doesn't actually do anything in that regard. So I got a service manual for this thing, and I thought this was pretty cool here. It's got all these dip switches on this board here, and has a cool little schematic of whether you want it to read in meters per minute, inches per minute, that kind of stuff. And yeah, thought that was pretty neat. And so like I said, you can kind of see here that the finish on the case is just screwed because it's been sitting outside and it's got a bunch of weld spatter and everything all over it. But I was actually able to clean up the finish on it really pretty well, I thought anyways, with just a little wheeler wire wheel here. And works out great. Run that over here, cleans it up, and granted it's kind of dusty and whatnot, but you can kind of see the difference there. But yeah, I'll get this back together and get to working with it and post more videos and show you more.